Chapters 1 to 2, Archaeological Confirmation of Truthfulness of the Old Testament. By Gene Gibson. Biblical. Archaeological Confirmation. 1. Flood of Noah's Day. Genesis 7 to 8. Great life spans prior, then decreasing. Surviving copies of Sumerian kings date to 2100 BC, before flood. After the flood had swept over the earth and when kingship was lowered again from heaven. We must also include the Chinese, Central and South American, Egyptian, Assyrian, Persian, Hindu, Greek, and also every world civilization has flood traditions about the wrath of God bring it on mankind, also a hero told to build a ship to take every kind of animal and bird. Pictures of fragment 6 inches high, a copy of Gilgamesh epic from 7th century BC found in Nineveh, found at Megiddo. 2. The Fall of Man, Gen 3. This is recorded in the so-called Temptation Seal, dated about 3500 BC and found near Nineveh. It was discovered by Spicer in 1932. It shows a naked man and woman, bent over, as if broken-hearted, followed by a serpent. 3. Ur, in Iraq, home of Abraham, Genesis 11 verses 28 to 31, was once thought by critics to be either non-existent myth or only some kind of rural village. It was a giant city, occupied from 4th millennium, continued since 1800s, and considered perhaps the most magnificent city of the ancient world. Its ruins show one city on top of another, those of Abraham's day being at the bottom. The British Museum and University of Pennsylvania had teams under Woolley excavating there between 1922 to 1934. The ziggurat or temple tower remains are there, along with two main temples, one to the moon god and the other to the moon goddess. It may have been that at one time, before God's call to leave this place, Abraham was a worshipper of these moon gods. For Hoti people from the time of Abraham, 2000 BC, were caravanning into Egypt carrying merchandise like I paint to sell, armed with bows and arrows, Genesis 14. Egyptian Deni Hassan tomb painting dated from 1900 BC shows how these people looked, hairstyles, lyres, bows and arrows. 5. The Ten Commandments, Exodus 21 verse 24, Exodus 20 verses 1 to 17, Deuteronomy 5 verses 6 to 21, Leviticus 19 verses 1 to 18, Leviticus 26 verses 2 to 3, Leviticus 24 verse 17. The commandments were not borrowed from Hammurabi but originally given by God in 1446 BC. Law Code of Hammurabi, carved on block diorite 7-foot stone slab by Hammurabi king of Babylon, found in Susa, Persia, today, taken as loot in 12th century BC. Phrases like eye for an eye are found in both OT and this code, Leviticus 24 verse 20. The phrase was known in both Babylon and rabbinic sources. 6. The Hittite people, about 50 references in Genesis, 23:10, 15:20, etc., Exodus, 3:17, 13:5, etc., Numbers, 13:29, Deuteronomy, 7:1, 20:17, etc., Joshua, 1:4, 12:8, etc., also 7 other OT books. Hittite artifacts in Anatolian Museum, Ankara, Turkey, from main city, Bogazkoy, fell 1300 BC. 100 years ago, critics thought Hittites were imaginary people. This claim was later withdrawn. 7. Customs in the time of Moses, 1500 to 1401 BC. Nuzi tablets east of Tigris River, Iraq, show 20,000 baked clay tablets, dated 1500 to 1401 BC, Moses' time, show customs, messages, herbs, surrogate mother inheritance like Bible times. 8. Haran, home of patriarchs, Abraham, etc. Genesis 11 verses 22 to 31 where, like in Ur, they worshipped the moon god as did Terah, Abraham's father, Josh. 24:2. Haran exists in Turkey today. The names of Abraham's grandfather and great-grandfather are mentioned in excavated remains, Nahor, Sarag. 9. Shechem, where Abraham and Jacob built an altar to God, Genesis 12 verse 33, one of the cities of refuge, the capital of Israel, Northern Kingdom, 1 Kings 12 verse 25. Excavations at Shechem this century revealed the ancient city with its wall and fortress temple of Baal from story of Abimelech, Judges 9 verse 46. 10. Pithom and Ramses, store cities of Pharaoh, where Hebrews were slaves, forcing them to make bricks without straw, Exodus 1:14 am, 5:7-19. Excavations at Ramses tell of prosperous ancient city. This was once thought to be after time given in Bible, but such is no repudiated by Mosaic dates, 1400 to 1446 BC. 11. Horned altars, 1 Kings 1 verse 50, Exodus 27 verse 2, the OT speaks of these about 20 times. They were used in the tabernacle. Excavations have turned up excellent examples of horned altars, picture available. 12. Merneptah stele called Israel stele, stone slab. This was questioned by critics. Now it is recognized by the Merneptah stele portrayed at Karnak Temple, Thebes, dated 1209 BC. 13. An even older stele from Egypt was found recently in Berlin, having the name Israel written on it between the 15th and 12th centuries BC. This shows Israelites' existence going back before 1209 BC. Hieroglyphic signs in Hebrew pre-exilic ostraca point to the early Egyptian background of a united Israel. Other nations virtually never used such steles. Hieroglyphic text of stele discovered victories of Pharaoh, brags of victory over Israel, 1213 BC, contains earliest known name Israel said by critics to be non-existent then. 14. Jericho, its importance and fall are recorded in Joshua 6. Did the walls fall as the Bible says, asked many critics? It has been debated whether ancient walls have been found. Certain levels show massive erosion and melted brick walls. Jericho stood as a key city to enter Israel from the east. Its earliest ruins date back before Abraham's time. 15. Temple of the Philistines and of Ramesses III. The Philistines are mentioned about 200 times in OT, Judges 14 to 16, Isam 17. Carved in wall of Egyptian temple at Thebes, Philistines whose existence was once denied by critics are both listed and pictured as one of sea peoples invading from Egypt to Israel, Palestine, shows dress, armor of soldiers. 16. Canaanite gods and goddesses, they were a challenge to Israel by syncretism worship of pagan gods. They were utterly destroyed to prevent defilement, evil from spreading to the chosen people. Between 1929 to 1939 excavations found hundreds of stories about Canaanite gods, goddesses, Baal, Asherah or Astarte, false, wicked, sensual, number 25, 1 Kings 11, J 23, Hosea 13. 17. Dan, Israel's northernmost city, once Canaanite, Judges 18, 20:1, 1 Kings 12 verses 28 to 31. Excavation shows a large, fortified city destroyed about 1250 BC, then rebuilt by Israel. 18. Megiddo, giving us the name Armageddon or Hill of Megiddo, Joshua 12 verse 21, where Joshua defeated Canaanites. In Solomon's time, it came under Israel's control. It is the site of the future great final battle, Revelation 16 verse 16. Firmly established in location, importance by extensive archaeology, ideal for strategic location, guarding against invaders from east and north. The nearby plains are ideal for military operations, Napoleon said. 19. Ashkelon, Philistine seaport. Nebuchadnezzar destroyed this ancient city in 604 BC. The prophets condemned the city, Joshua 13 verse 3, 1 Samuel 6 verse 17. Excavations since 1985 unearthed this large, ancient city. 20. Gezer, a gift to Solomon by Pharaoh. Joshua 16 verse 10, Judges 1 verse 29, 1 Kings 9 verses 15 to 17, *C section number 34. Archaeologists excavated this city, finding clear evidence of destruction by Egyptians with a similar gateway, relationships with Megiddo, as built by Solomon. 21. Shiloh, the first home of Ark of Covenant, where Philistines captured, then relinquished, the Ark, Joshua 18, Isam 1-4. Archaeology discovered Shiloh with evidence of destruction by fire. Much archaeological work there between 1962 to 1969. 22. Ashdod, where Dagon god statue fell, Isam 5, faded during 700s BC as Amos prophesied, Amos 1 verse 8. Statue of Dagon found in the 1800s in Assyria. 23. Pharaoh Shishak's invasion effort against Jerusalem and Judah during Rehoboam's reign, 1 Kings 14, 2 Chron 12. Recorded on wall at Karnak Temple, Thebes, Luxor today in Egypt. 24. Beth Shemesh, where Philistines returned the ark, 1 Samuel 6 verses 12 to 15. Excavations are now underway. Pictures show ruins, massive fortification, and water supply. 25. Pool at Gibeon dated from 1000 BC, 2 Samuel 2 verse 13, Jeremiah 4 verse 12. Great water pool there as the Bible shows effort to secure water supply for Jerusalem, 2 Samuel 2 verse 13. Pool discovered in 1956, 6 miles north of Jerusalem. 26. Gibeah, King Saul's capital, Judges 19 verses 11 to 13, 1 Samuel 10 verse 26, 11:4. Ruins have been found 3 miles north of Jerusalem. Excavations show habitation from 1100 BC. 27. Bethshean, occupied by both Philistines and Canaanites until King Saul, Israelites never conquered it. Saul fought Philistines here at Gilboa, Judges 1 verse 27, 1 Samuel 38 verse 16. Coffins of Philistines found, pictures available. 28. King David's Jerusalem, when it was his, 2 Sam, 1 Chron. Much of buried remains of this Jerusalem found 1978 to 1985. Siloam Springs there guarded by towers. David's very existence denied by critics for a long time. 29. House of David. Inscription in black basalt stone in Aramaic unearthed, testifying to House of David, denied by critics, unearthed in 1993-94 on 3 pieces of stone, found at Dan, dated centuries after David mentions a king of Israel Joram and Ahaziah in David's line. 30. Beersheba, southern boundary of Israel, 1 Kings 4 verse 28, from Dan to Beersheba is a familiar biblical phrase indicating north to south, meaning full extent. Excavated 1969 to 1976. Uncovered city, built after David's time, dated from 1st millennium BC, 50010000 BC. It had strong walls and gates, and supports biblical accounts. 31. Samaria, capital of northern kingdom, fortified by Ahab and Omri, mentioned many times in Oti, 1 Kings 16 verse 24, 2 Kings 6 verse 20, 2 Chron 18, Amos 3 verse 12, 6:1. Many excavations here uncovered a prosperous, strong city. 32. Hazor, key to Israelite victory. Bible calls it the head, Joshua 11. Hazor was a city which Joshua burned with fire, Josh 11:11. Garstang found the ashes of the fire and evidence of its occurrence around 1400 BC, shortly after the time of the Exodus and 40 years of wandering. In the Amarna tablets, written to Pharaoh in 1380 by the Egyptian representative to northern Israel, he said, "Let my lord the king recall what Hazor and its king have already had to endure," destroyed in 1888. More recently, excavations by the Israeli archaeologist Mazar showed evidence of the later period of Solomon's reign confirming Old Testament accounts. 33. Ivory ornaments, these objects show Solomon's throne made of ivory, 1 Kings 10 verse 18, 2 Chron 9:17. The hymn phrase "out of the ivory palaces" commemorates this. Found in several cities, Megiddo, Samaria, discovered in a dealer's shop. 34. Gezer calendar, found at Gezer, one of Solomon's fortresses, see number 20, Genesis, Exodus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, 2 Kings, Psalms, Isaiah. First example of Hebrew writing, 971 to 913 BC, shows literacy in 10th center. BC. 35. House of Yahweh, the Temple. Ostrakhan writing on a piece of pottery found between 835 to 796 BC, 120 years after temple built. It is the oldest mention of Solomon's temple outside the Bible, about 950 BC. 36. Seals from royal courts of Israel and Judah, and 2 Kings. Nearly 2,000 jar handles of wine jars from the time of Hezekiah with the inscription to the king. The inscriptions tell us from what winery they came, in Israel. Hezekiah built up large storehouses to be able to resist the Assyrian invasion. Excavations in antiquity show how it produced carved, semi-precious stones belonging to royal causes dated from 900 to 600 BC. Pictures of seal with name Shlomo, Solomon. Picture available. One found at Megiddo depicts a lion saying, belonging to Shema, servant of Jeroboam. 37. The Moabite stone, Mesha stele, picture available. Moabites related to Israel, Genesis 37 verse 36. King Mesha bragged that he expelled Israelites, 2 Kings 3. In 1868, found by German missionary in Gibson, east of Dead Sea. Inscribed Mesha, king of Moab in 850 BC, one of the earliest finds of biblical people, also said to contain reference to House of David. 38. Black obelisk of Shalmaneser. 6.5 tall, 2 Kings 9-11, only contemporary pictures of a Hebrew king. Discovered in palace at Nimrod in 1846, shows biblical King Jehu kneeling to Shalmaneser, dated from 841 BC. It may also be a member of his embassy. 39. King Uzziah's burial. He ruled Israel for 52 years when Hosea and Isaiah prophesied of him. Inscription celebrates completion of tunnel mentioned in Bible, 2 Kings 20 verse 20, 2 Chronicles 26. Stone plaque found on grounds of Russian Orthodox Church, Mt of Olives, said, "Here the bones of Uzziah, king of Judah, were brought." "Do not open" is inscribed about 792 to 740 BC when he became king. 40. Siloam Tunnel, waters go through here from Jerusalem, still open, to man-made Siloam Springs. It provided water for Jerusalem during siege of Sennacherib, king of Assyria. Inscription in ancient Hebrew discovered by two boys as they waded through tunnel's waters in 1880. Inscription dates from days of Hezekiah, 701 BC. 41. Lachish reliefs 62 feet long, 2 Kings 18 verses 14 and 17, 2 Chronicles 32. Carvings at Nineveh Palace amplify biblical record of siege of Judah during Hezekiah's reign. 2 Kings 18 verse 14, 701 BC. Picture available. 42. Sennacherib prism. When Hezekiah was besieged in Jerusalem like bird in the cage, city was not conquered due to intervention of God, 185,000 Assyrians slain in one night, 2 Kings 18-19, ISA. 36-37, 2 Chron 32. A 15-inch tall baked clay picture contains story of invasion of Judah by Sennacherib, 701 BC, found at Nineveh, added to Lachish reliefs. Adds details to biblical account. It also shows Hebrews fleeing from Lachish when it was under siege. 43. Tomb of priestly Hezer family. 3 generations are mentioned in the list of Levitical kings, 1 Chronicles 24 verse 15, Nehemiah 10 verse 20. Elaborate tomb complex in Jerusalem's Kidron Valley has been excavated. 44. Carchemish, where history changed course in 586 BC when Nebuchadnezzar defeated Egyptian and Assyrian armies, then stormed Jerusalem and destroyed the temple, J 46, 2 Chron 35-36. Archaeology discovered it was a strategic location and locale of battles. 45. Lachish letters. The city, southwest of Jerusalem, was conquered before letters sent to get help, Jeremiah 34 verses 2-7, 2 Kings 24-5. In 1979, archaeologists excavated 6th century tombs in Jerusalem written about 588 BC on 21 pottery pieces. Among ruins of Lachish, Judah's defenders pleading for help are shown. 46. Silver amulets, contain oldest example of scripture found, 2 Chronicles 36. In 1979, while excavating tombs in Jerusalem, excavators found 2 small amulets dating to Jehoiakim's reign. They contained the prayer from Numbers 6 verses 24-26. 47. Babylon, capital of Babylon, palace of Nebuchadnezzar, Daniel 4 verse 29. Ruins to be seen today covering 2,000 to 3,000 acres, 56 miles south of Baghdad, including ziggurats, step towers. Pictures available. Ruins echo Jeremiah 25 verse 12, Jeremiah 51, it will be destroyed forever, Isaiah 13 verses 19-20. 48. Cyrus cylinder, return home a decree, 2 Chronicles 36 verse 23, Ezra 1, Isaiah 44 verse 28, shown. A 9-inch clay cylinder found in Babylon, dated at time of Cyrus, 539 BC, tells of Cyrus' decree to let captives, including Jews, return to land, restore temple. 49. Susa, Shushan in Hebrew, the royal city of Queen Esther in modern Iran, Persia, one of 3 major cities in reign of Cyrus. Xerxes and Artaxerxes carried on the building of the palace. Queen Esther, 478 BC, married Ahasuerus. Ezra and Nehemiah were sent to rebuild Jerusalem, Dan 8:2, about 557 BC, Ezra 7 verses 14-21, Nehemiah 13 verses 5-8. ruins excavated by several teams. Artifacts and elaborate stone columns found at site of Susa. Inscribed silver bowl pictures are preserved. 50. Dead Sea Scrolls. These are in hundreds of scraps dated 300 BC 70 AD, near Qumran, by Dead Sea, 7 miles south of Jericho. They are said to have originated with a Essene sect of Jews, ascetic, ultra-Orthodox. The scrolls were found in jars. 1/3 of them contain full copies, Isaiah, or parts of every OT book except Esther, 1,000 years older than any other OT manuscript and one of the greatest archaeological finds. Chapters 1 to 2, Archaeological Confirmation.